Narration. Imagine a secret hidden for thousands of years, buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered. What if everything you've ever learned about the origins of human civilization is completely wrong? What if an ancient culture, lost to history, held knowledge so advanced, so terrifying, that it could rewrite the story of humanity itself? Welcome to a journey that will shake the very foundation of what you believe. 6,000 years ago, in the heart of what is now modern Iraq, a mysterious civilization appeared out of nowhere, defying every rule of progress we thought we understood. They were called the Sumerians, and thanks to cutting-edge artificial intelligence, their long-forgotten secrets are finally being revealed. Buckle up, because what we're about to uncover will leave you stunned. Let's set the stage. Picture a land between two mighty rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, a place of endless possibility. 6,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened here. While other cultures around the world were still hunting and gathering, slowly figuring out the basics of survival, the Sumerians seemed to leap forward overnight. They didn't just crawl out of the Stone Age, they sprinted into history with fully formed cities, complex laws, and mind-blowing knowledge of the stars. Names like Eridu, Uruk, and Ur became the beating heart of their world. City-states that rose from nothing into sprawling hubs of human achievement. How did this happen so fast? That's the question historians have wrestled with for centuries. And now, we might finally have some answers. The Sumerians weren't just builders or farmers. They were innovators in ways we're only beginning to grasp. One of their greatest tools, mud. Yes, simple mud. But to them, it was everything. They turned it into bricks to construct towering cities. They molded it into containers and trade tokens. Most importantly, they used it to create something revolutionary, writing. They pressed wedge-shaped marks, called cuneiform, into soft clay tablets, inventing one of the first systems of recording human thought. This wasn't just about keeping track of grain or taxes, though they did that too. They wrote down royal commands, legal agreements, beautiful poems, and epic stories that have survived for millennia. For the first time in history, ideas could outlive the people who thought them. That's a game changer. Now, let's talk numbers. The Sumerians didn't just write words. They developed a mathematical system that still shapes our lives today. They used a base 60 system. Think 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. That kind of precision, baked into clay tablets thousands of years ago, shows a level of understanding that's almost eerie. But as scholars dug deeper into these ancient records, they found more than just math and trade logs. Hidden among the mundane were hints of something far stranger. References to rituals, medical practices, detailed star charts, and whispers of knowledge that seem way too advanced for their time. What were they really writing about? For years, we could only guess. But now, thanks to modern technology, we're starting to uncover the truth. Here's where it gets exciting. Around the world, tens of thousands of these clay tablets sit in museums and storage rooms, waiting to be read. The problem? Deciphering them has always been incredibly difficult. A single tablet might contain over 1,000 unique symbols, and each symbol can mean different things depending on how it's used. It used to take experts an entire lifetime to become skilled at reading just a fraction of these texts. Only a tiny group of specialists could even attempt it, but that's all changing. In Munich, researchers have harnessed the power of artificial intelligence to piece together broken tablets, like solving the oldest, toughest puzzle in history. At first, the AI could only match fragments, but it quickly learned to recognize patterns, identify texts, and even interpret writings from different scribes across centuries. By the year 2023, teams at Tel Aviv and Ario University had developed an AI capable of translating Akkadian, a language found on many cuneiform tablets, into English in mere hours. What once took years of painstaking work now happens almost instantly. As one source described it, is like merging Google Translate with a time machine. And just when this technology was becoming incredibly powerful, archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery. In northern Iraq, at a site called Kurd Kalasi, they unearthed a collection of tablets dating back to around 1800 BCE. These tablets were in such pristine condition that they could act as reference points to confirm the IA's translations. Researchers believe these writings might even be copies of much older originals, taking us closer to the dawn of Sumerian culture. Around the same time, another site, Girsu, one of the earliest Sumerian cities, yielded over 200 untouched cuneiform tablets and 60 cylinder seals. These artifacts were preserved in containers lined with bitumen, a natural tar that protected them from moisture and decay over thousands of years. Because these tablets reference events from even earlier times, many historians now believe they contain knowledge from the very beginning of Sumerian civilization. And the discoveries didn't stop there. By 2025, new tools developed at Würzburg University pushed the boundaries even further. These tools could detect subtle meanings, idioms, and technical terms that human translators had overlooked for decades. So, what exactly were these ancient texts saying? Let's dive into the revelations. The Sumerians weren't just casually observing the night sky. Their tablets revealed detailed records of planetary movements, solstices, and even hints of Earth's precession, a slow wobble in the planet's rotation that the modern astronomers only fully understood in recent history. Were the Sumerians tracking cosmic cycles that spanned tens of thousands of years? The evidence suggests they might have been. But their knowledge didn't stop at astronomy. In medicine, their writings describe antiseptics, trauma treatments, and even methods for checking a pulse. They documented family health histories in ways that hint at an understanding of inherited traits, something we didn't formally explain until the discovery of genetics in modern times. Then there's the really wild stuff. Some tablets describe copper and iron vessels submerged in acidic liquids, using terms like currents, spark, and powerful glow. Does that sound familiar? It should. The so-called Baghdad battery, an ancient artifact discovered much later, matches these descriptions almost perfectly. Were the Sumerians experimenting with electricity thousands of years ago? Whether by accident or design, they were documenting processes that align uncannily well with modern electrical concepts. But the surprises don't end with science. Some of the most unsettling passages in these tablets mention stones that scorch the earth and poison fields buried deep to contain their danger. Today, we know about desert glass, fused quartz created by extreme heat, possibly from meteor impacts or something else entirely. Could these ancient warnings be linked to such phenomena? Some researchers think so, while others speculate about lost technologies or weapons beyond our current understanding. Now, let's touch on something even more controversial: the myths. You've probably heard of the Anunnaki, cosmic beings or spiritual judges in Sumerian lore. But in modern fringe theories, popularized by authors like Zechariah Sitchin, they're portrayed as ancient astronauts from a distant planet called Nibiru. According to these ideas, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth over 400,000 years ago to mine gold, supposedly creating humans through genetic engineering to serve as their labor force. While this might sound far-fetched, AI translations are starting to pick up strange technical language in these mythic texts. Terms like energy vessels, divine codes, and sealed chambers with breathable air. These phrases feel oddly engineered, too precise to dismiss outright. Even references to me, once thought to mean divine boats or flying chariots, now reveal details like airflow systems and protective coverings. Are we misreading distorted accounts of ancient technology? The more AI uncovers, the harder it is to draw a clear line between myth and reality. Before we go deeper, if you're as captivated by this mystery as I am, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe and like button. Show some love, and let's keep unraveling this together. Now let's talk about something at the core of these stories, us. The Sumerian tablets don't just hint at human origins. They practically scream about them. Texts like the Atrahasis and Eridu, Genesis claim humanity wasn't a product of chance or nature, but of deliberate creation. According to these stories, there was a rebellion among lesser gods called the Igigi, who grew tired of manual labor. When they revolted, the higher gods, the Anunnaki, needed a new workforce. Their solution? Craft a new being from clay and something called divine essence. They named this first human Adamo. Sound familiar? The parallels to later religious texts are striking, but that's just the beginning. At first, these early humans weren't quite right. Sterile, not very intelligent, basically unfit for purpose. So, the gods refined their design, tweaking them until they could reproduce and work effectively. Thanks to AI, we're now finding phrases in these texts like essence mixture, prototype yield, and reproductive capacity. It starts to sound less like a myth and more like a scientific experiment. Naturally, this fuels speculation among ancient astronaut theorists, who point to modern genetic anomalies, like the sudden fusion of human chromosome 2, as possible evidence of ancient tampering. Did someone meddle with our DNA? Mainstream science says no, but the debate is far from settled. Speaking of ancient visitors, let's address the infamous Nibiru theory. Zecharia Sitchin claimed the Anunnaki hailed from a distant planet with a looping orbit that takes 3,600 years to circle the sun. According to him, they first arrived about 450,000 years ago, and each time Nibiru passed near Earth, it caused massive shifts in civilization, both rises and catastrophic falls. Whether you buy into this or not, the Sumerian tablets do mention cataclysms, huge floods, droughts, and climate disasters, often tied to bizarre celestial events like red skies, reversed rivers, and stars that prey on the land. Were they describing Nibiru? Or were these just natural disasters viewed through a cosmic perspective? AI is complicating things further by showing that many of these tablets read like survival manuals, not just wild tales. Another odd piece of the puzzle is the Sumerian king list, an ancient record of rulers and their reigns. It doesn't start with normal lifespans. The first king, Alalim, supposedly ruled for 28,800 years. The next, Dumazid, for 36,000 years. Later kings have shorter reigns, hundreds of years instead of thousands, but even that's far from ordinary. Scholars often say these numbers are symbolic, meant to show divine authority, like saying, "Our king is so great, he ruled forever." But others wonder if something stranger was at play. Could these kings have been hybrids, part human, part something else, perhaps Anunnaki? Archaeological finds add fuel to this fire. In Queen Puabi's tomb, dated to around 2600 BCE, researchers found a naturally elongated skull, not from artificial deformation, but a genuine anomaly. Nearby, skeletal remains stood over 2 meters tall, extremely unusual for Sumerian populations, or even today. Were these just genetic outliers or traces of something more? The Sumerians were also obsessed with blood purity, often mentioning the seed of Anu. They enforced strict dynastic marriages and rituals to preserve a specific lineage. This idea isn't unique to them. It appears across ancient cultures. Egyptian pharaohs claimed descent from gods, Inca rulers from the sun, and Tibetan Dalai Lamas are seen as divine reincarnations. But the Sumerians might have been the first to document it. Their language, however, is tricky. Words like "me" can mean a divine decree, a cultural idea, or a physical object, leading to wildly different interpretations over the years. Zecharia Sitchin, for instance, claimed some texts described powerful objects or star maps, though many of his ideas, like the tablet VA 243 being a celestial chart, have been debunked as simple dedications. Beyond myths and kings, the Sumerians left warnings, serious ones. They didn't just talk about a single flood or disaster. They described cycles of prosperity and collapse repeating over and over, tied to their star records. AI is now linking these patterns to real historical climate events, like the 4.2 kiloyear drought that caused civilizations to crumble, or the sudden fall of the Akkadian Empire with famines and mass migrations. While we have scientific evidence for these events, the tablets describe them differently. Red skies, a black sun, stars preying on the land, rivers reversing course. For years, scholars dismissed this as poetic exaggeration, but AI suggests these could be accounts of actual celestial phenomena. Were the Sumerians witnessing something in the skies we've forgotten? And just when you think it can't get stranger, let's talk about their gods. Not just the Anunnaki, but an entire pantheon rivaling any modern fantasy world. They had deities for storms, healing, the moon, writing, even specific winds. Enlil, the wind god, was said to have separated heaven from earth, so sacred that other gods couldn't look at him. He ruled from a massive temple in Nippur, overseeing everything from farming to the laws of existence. Enki, the trickster god of freshwater and wisdom, shaped the world and gave humans intellect. His sister Gatamdug was a goddess of healing and fertility, invoked in childbirth. Then there's Inanna, later called Ishtar, embodying love, war, and ambition. Her myth of descending to the underworld, dying, and being reborn might symbolize seasonal cycles. Utul, the sun god, brought justice, while his sister Nana, the moon goddess, inspired one of history's first known authors, Enheduanna, a high priestess who wrote hymns to her. There are countless others, Ninmah, a divine scribe and midwife to humanity's creation, An, the sky father, Ki, the earth mother, and Anzu, a giant thunderbird who stole the tablets of destiny. By the time Babylonian myths emerged, the Sumerian pantheon included over 300 deities, with more names still being discovered in museum archives. Some scholars even suggest local gods tied to specific springs or winds, meaning every new tablet could reveal a forgotten deity. Unlocking these myths isn't easy. Many tablets are broken, written centuries apart, and the language is complex, with a single symbol having multiple meanings across dialects. For too long, Western scholars dismissed many of these gods as primitive or irrelevant, miscategorizing entire deities. Even major stories like Inanna's descent to the underworld took decades to fully reconstruct. So, what were the Sumerians real? Secret scientists, witnesses to otherworldly events, or are we just misinterpreting their truths through a modern lens? What do you think those glowing jewels and sparking rods in their texts were? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And if you're hungry for more stories that challenge everything you thought you knew, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to come.